guys, so I was tagged by Amy over at Shout Amy to do the mid-year book tag, and it has been what feels like forever since I've done a tag, so I thought, hey, let's do that tag that Amy very kindly tagged me in. So without further ado, let's get into the questions. Question number 1 is best book you've read so far in 2017. That's a big question. I actually did a video about my favourite books of 2017 so far, which I think had about 6 books in it. So if you want to know my 6 favourite books of the year so far, you can go and check that out. But if I had to pick one of them... No, actually, I can't pick one. I'm picking 2. And one would be Citizen by Claudia Rankine. This is a collection of poetry all about race, and it's incredibly powerful. But like I said, if you want to hear more, you can check out my video. And the other book I would say was a favourite was Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo, and this is a book about a woman who is unable to get pregnant, so her husband takes a second wife in 1980s Nigeria, and the story, however, goes completely in all of the directions you don't expect it to go. So that's where you start, but I'll say no more because it's full of surprises. Question number 2 is best sequel you've read in 2017. I don't know how many sequels I've read in 2017, so I'm just going on to my Goodreads here. No sequels, no sequels, no sequels. This isn't looking good. I don't think I have read and loved any sequels this year. I have read 2 sequels, one of which was a reread and one of which I didn't really like. The reread, however, was of a favourite sequel, and that is The Sign of 4 by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, which is the second in the Sherlock Holmes series, so that's the best sequel I've read this year. Next up is a new release that you haven't read yet but really want to. I think off the top of my head, one book that came out in 2017 that I am really keen to get to ASAP and I did recently pick up is by Colm Tóibín, and it's called The House of Names. It's a retelling of a Greek myth, the Greek myth of Agamemnon, who kills his daughter Iphigenia. He sacrifices her to the gods during the Trojan War, and then it returns home and is murdered by his wife Clytemnestra, who is unsurprisingly furious at her husband and about their children, Orestes and Electra, and how the myth unfolds. But I haven't read any Colm Tóibín before, but I hear amazing things, and this sounds like my perfect Colm Tóibín book because of course it is a Greek myth retelling. The next question is what is a new release coming out in the second half of the year that you're really excited for? Well, one book that I recently learnt about that actually comes out in about a week or something is Gather the Daughters by Jenny Melamed. And this is a new feminist dystopian book that's being released by Tinder Press, and it follows an isolated island cult where patriarchy runs strong, and the women are obviously expected to serve the men in specific ways. I think it sounds like a really interesting concept, this kind of dystopian-esque aggressive patriarchy in a small enclosed space cut away from the rest of the world. It sounds really good and I've heard really good things, so I'm excited for that. I have to admit I'm also super excited for my friend Jen's short story collection to come out, which is The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jen Campbell. And I know this just sounds like blatant nepotism, but I've been reading bits of this short story collection for months as Jen's been writing it, and I am so excited to read the full thing because I've loved every bit that I have read so far, absolutely wholeheartedly. Next up is biggest disappointment, and I think my biggest disappointment is The Case Against Satan by Ray Russell, because I thought I was going to love this book when I started it, but it really just tailed off and I felt like the ending was done really badly. As the kind of mystery aspect of this classic horror novel unraveled, it just felt really shock factor as opposed to clever, so that was pretty disappointing. I was also pretty underwhelmed by Eileen by Otessa Moshfegh, which was either longlisted or shortlisted for last year's Man Booker Prize. Biggest surprise was probably Stay With Me again. I did not expect to love this book as much as I did. I might not even have picked it up at least as quickly as I did if it hadn't been shortlisted for the Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction, so I think I'm so glad that it was because it really brought it to my attention and I fell in love. Next up is my favourite new author. This can either be a debut author or just somebody that's new to me this year. Again, I hate to repeat myself, but Ayobami Adebayo would certainly be on there because of Stay With Me, as I'd never read anything by her before. Another author that I hadn't read before that I read this year was Natalie Haynes, and I read her retelling of the Greek myth of Oedipus and Jocasta, which is called The Children of Jocasta, and really enjoyed this one, and I'm so keen to pick up more Natalie Haynes very soon. Next up is newest fictional crush, and honestly if I picked something I would just be making it up. I don't have any new fictional crushes. Next up is newest favourite character, and I have to say I loved Coraline from Neil Gaiman's Coraline. She would definitely be up there. Again, Yejide from Stay With Me, she was fantastic, loved reading about her. Yeah, I think they're the two. Then we have book that made you cry. So I find I cry far more at non-fiction than I do at fiction, I guess because non-fiction on hard topics makes me cry because it's real. And I have definitely gotten a little bit teary-eyed at Owen Jones's Chavs. Not proper streaming tears as of yet, but if I had to pick one, that one. A book that made you happy. A book that made me happy, that doesn't necessarily start off as a very happy book, but just had the perfect ending, was Hagseed by Margaret Atwood. You know, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the ending made me happy. And I also read Masquerade by Terry Pratchett, which was a comic fantasy novel, and you know, it made me laugh, so that's happy, right? Then specifically for booktubers, what is your favourite video that you've filmed this year? That's such an interesting question. Let me have a look. What have I uploaded this year? Actually, I think I know what it is. It's Can Mythology Teach Us History, which was a sort of discussion video about the mythology's place in ancient Greek culture and studying it as a historian. I loved filming that, and equally I loved filming my books that retell ancient Greek and Roman myths video. That I loved as well. What can I say? I'm a committed classicist. I also enjoyed filming Jen and I's How to Get Organised video, mainly because you guys have responded really well to that, and I'm so glad you found that helpful, and I love knowing that I have created things that you found helpful. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or have been sent? Oh, that is a tricky one. So I don't have everything I have bought or received in my flat here, but one of my favourite covers that I have acquired this year is The Children of Jocasta by Natalie Haynes, which I just think is beautiful. I love it. It looks just perfect. It's just perfect. I really love this cover. And in fact, actually, this collection of short stories by Kanishk Tharoor called Swimmer Among the Stars is stunning. Look at that naked hardback with all of that silver embossing and the elephant, which are my favourite animals. I think this is stunning. And last but certainly not least is, what books do you need to read by the end of this year? Absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing I need to read by the end of the year, unless it's to do with university, and even then I can't think of a specific book I have to read before the year is out. I would like to keep on my journey of ticking off the Greek plays I haven't read yet, so I'm definitely going to be reading more of those before the year is out, but I don't like to hold myself to any kind of arbitrary reading goals, you know. But those are all the questions. If you'd like to tell me any of your answers to any of these questions, then please do in the comments down below, and if you'd like to chat about any of the books I mentioned, then again, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time though, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye guys!